Heavy Hand of God podcasting. Thank you so much for joining in today. I wanted to share a little bit about this devotional that I read. I just feel like sometimes I'm the only person in this whole wide world that ever goes through things. I know it's wrong, but it does feel that way, especially when you're in that pain or in the midst of that storm. And there was this one devotional that I read by a guy named John Piper that really helped put things in perspective as far as like suffering and pain and what it really represents in a Christian faith. And I said, oh my gosh, I really need to share this with you guys, and hopefully it will be a blessing to someone who is suffering or going through a lot. The title of this is called Sin, Satan, Sickness, or Bondage. It's a devotional by John Piper. It's out of the verses of 2 Corinthians 12, verses 8 through 9. And it reads, 3 times I pleaded with the Lord about this, that it should leave me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ rest upon me. Is the suffering that comes to the Christian because of persecution the same as the suffering that comes from cancer? Do the promises given to the one apply to the other? My answer is yes. All of life, if it is lived earnestly by faith in the pursuit of God's glory and the salvation of others, will meet with some kind of obstacle and suffering. The suffering that comes to the obedient Christian is part of the price of living where you are in obedience to the call of God. And choosing to follow Christ in the way he directs, we choose all that this path includes under his sovereign providence. Thus, all suffering that comes in the path of obedience is suffering with Christ and for Christ, whether it is cancer at home or persecution far away. And it is chosen. That is, we willingly take the path of obedience where the suffering befalls us, and we do not murmur against God. We pray. We pray as Paul did, that the suffering be removed. But if God wills, we embrace it as part of the cost of discipleship and the path of obedience on the way to heaven. All experiences of suffering in the path of Christian obedience, whether from persecution or sickness or accident, have this in common. They all threaten our faith in the goodness of God and tempt us to leave the path of obedience. Therefore, every triumph of faith, all perseverance and obedience are testimonies to the goodness of God and the preciousness of Christ. Whether the enemy is sickness, Satan, sin, or bondage. Therefore, all suffering of every kind that we endure in the path of our Christian calling is a suffering with Christ and for Christ. With him in that sense, that suffering comes to us as we are walking with him by faith, and in the sense that it is endured in the strength he supplies through us, sympathizing his high priestly ministry in us, as stated in Hebrews 4:15. And for him, in the sense that the suffering tests and proves our allegiance to his goodness and power, and in the sense that it reveals his worth as an all-sufficient compensation and prize. This was huge for me, because when I am in a state of suffering, whether it was mentally, emotionally, sin is something that does feel like a cop-out or something to succumb to. And it's not the answer and it's not the way. This helped me look at suffering from a different standpoint. It helped me look at suffering as part of the Christian walk. No one ever said that this journey was going to be easy or fun in a sense where you will never have suffering. And even though that may be true, that's easier said than done. If you are someone who is suffering, going through whether it was emotional pain, physical pain, mental pain, or any type of burden that is weighing you down right now, this message is for you. Hold on. God is with you. God is watching, and his grace is sufficient. Thank you again for listening. This is Evie with Heavy Hand of God podcasting. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Deuces! 'Cause even in the madness, there is peace.